In 1928, just months before the stock market crash that would trigger the Great Depression, an American company unveiled a car so powerful and so expensive that it made Rolls-Royce look modest. Only a few hundred would ever be built, but almost a century later, it is still spoken of as the greatest American car ever made. This is the story of the Duesenberg Model J, the car that turned engineering arrogance into rolling art and became the ultimate symbol of wealth in the darkest economic times. To understand the Model J, you have to start on the racetrack. Fred and August Duesenberg, German-born brothers who grew up in the United States, built their reputation by designing fast, advanced racing cars as early as the 1910s. In the 1920s, Duesenberg machines won the Indianapolis 500 multiple times, and in 1921 became the first and only American car to win the French Grand Prix. Their first road car, the Model A, already featured race-derived technology, an inline 8-cylinder engine, lots of aluminum in the structure, and 4-wheel hydraulic brakes, a Duesenberg innovation at the time. But despite the engineering, the company struggled financially, and by the mid-1920s, it needed a savior. That savior was Erich Cord, a young, ambitious businessman who had already revived Auburn. In 1926, Cord bought Duesenberg and gave Fred a simple but brutal brief: build me the best car in the world, regardless of cost. The result of that challenge was the Model J. It debuted on December 1st, 1928, at the New York Auto Show, a glittering symbol of American excess on the eve of economic collapse. Cord's plan was bold. He expected to sell up to 500 Model Js per year to the world's wealthiest customers. Under that long hood lived an engine inspired directly by Duesenberg's Grand Prix cars. The Model J used a 420 cubic inch or 6.9-liter straight-eight engine with dual overhead camshafts and 4 valves per cylinder. This was race car technology in a road car at a time when many family cars still struggled to reach 60 miles per hour. In standard form, it produced around 265 horsepower, making it the most powerful American production engine of its time. Top speed was quoted at up to 116 miles per hour, and it could reach almost 90 miles per hour in second gear alone. Later, the supercharged SJ version pushed output to about 320 horsepower and could reportedly touch 130 miles per hour, with 0 to 100 in roughly 17 seconds. The chassis was equally serious, a massive ladder frame with a wheelbase of about 142 inches, roughly 3.6 meters, and a curb weight well over 2.5 tons once bodied. Yet despite the size, the J was known for precise steering, strong brakes, and effortless high-speed cruising. Duesenbergs were not just fast, they were theatrical. A bare Model J chassis cost between $8,500 and $9,500 in the late 1920s. To put that in perspective, in today's money that is well over $160,000, and that was before you even had a body, a roof, or an interior. Wealthy clients went shopping for coach builders the way other people browse clothing brands. The real cost came from the custom body you put on top of the chassis. In New York, you might choose LeBaron for a formal town car. In California, you might ask Bowman and Schwartz for a sweeping convertible with chrome everywhere. In Europe, some Js received bodies from Fagoni at Falaschi or Fernandez and Darin, with flowing fenders and Art Deco details that looked more like sculptures than cars. Inside, almost everything you touched could be customized. You wanted a built-in bar in the rear compartment? Fine. A jewelry box in the armrest or a hidden compartment for a pistol? Also fine. If you had money and imagination, a Duesenberg coach builder would find a way to build it. The famous Duesenberg hood ornament and long chromed side exhaust pipes turned the J into an instant status symbol. One museum example, a 1931 Durham-bodied Tourster, combined open four-door coachwork with 265 horsepower performance and a 120 mile/hour top speed, a blend of elegance and brute force that few European rivals could match at the time. For some owners, the standard Model J still wasn't enough. They wanted more noise, more speed, more drama. So Duesenberg introduced the Supercharged SJ. A centrifugal supercharger pushed the big straight 8 to roughly 320 horsepower and made its exhaust crackle like a race car on the road. Magazine road tests of the time talked about effortless acceleration from walking pace all the way to 100 miles per hour, with no sense that the engine was working hard. The rarest of all were the SSJ short wheelbase Roadsters. Only 2 were built from the factory, both with even more aggressive tuning, even shorter bodies, and a stance that made them look like street-legal race cars. These are the cars Gary Cooper and Clark Gable reportedly raced each other with in the Hollywood Hills, multi-million-dollar toys, even when they were brand new. Timing, however, could not have been worse. Within a year of the Model J's debut, the stock market crashed, and the Great Depression began. The J was eye-wateringly expensive, often costing more than a comfortable house, and sales never approached Cord's dream numbers. By the time the Depression fully took hold, fewer than 300 cars had been built, and total production across all versions is generally quoted at a little under 500 examples. Yet the economic crisis also gave the Model J its mystique. When ordinary people were struggling to eat, the sight of a Duesenberg rolling down a city street screamed power and privilege. New York City, as America's financial capital, was an early stronghold. Bankers and industrialists bought J's as the ultimate badge of success. Later, as Wall Street fortunes faded, Hollywood took over. Movie stars such as Gary Cooper and Clark Gable owned the ultra-rare short-wheelbase SSJ Roadsters and reportedly raced each other in the Hollywood Hills. Photographs of actors posing with these enormous cars turned the Duesenberg into a pop culture icon. In the collector car world today, Duesenberg ownership is almost a club of its own. People who buy these cars rarely use them as investments only. They tour them, they show them at Pebble Beach, and they maintain them with the same care as historic aircraft. In 2018, one of the Hollywood SSJs, Gary Cooper's car, sold for more than $22 million at auction, setting a record for an American car. Even regular Model J's, if there is such a thing, routinely sell for 7-figure prices when they have special coachwork or racing history. And yet owners still talk about how usable the cars feel. They start, they idle smoothly, they cruise at modern highway speeds, and their brakes, for the early 1930s, are remarkably strong. It is this combination of theatrical presence and real-world drivability that keeps the Model J at the top of so many greatest car ever built lists. Despite its aura, Duesenberg as a company could not outrun the Depression. The firm went bankrupt in 1937, and the very last Model J-based car was delivered as late as 1940. In total, fewer than 500 chassis were built, and no 2 were identical, which only increased their value later. The Duesenberg Model J was born as an act of defiance, a car built without compromise, just as the world economy was about to collapse. It never made money for its creators, but it left a legacy of engineering ambition that few brands have ever matched. If you could go back in time and order any version of the Model J, a formal limousine, a supercharged SJ, or one of the ultra-rare SSJ Roadsters, which one would you choose, and why? Let me know in the comments. And tell me which legendary car you want to see featured in the next episode of Car History.